All right, this is round number 5. Much better. All right, we've got for this episode.
Confession, I haven't read as much as I did.
You didn't review the study material.
I did some.
She was Terminator-esque in her first round
A competitress.
last week. Yeah.
Well, I should have been here. It's my fault. You snooze, you lose.
And it's the first true Terminator for this new season.
Okay.
that we're
First,
doing.
but not only. But there were parts of this that were hard. I found it hard when we get to it.
Yeah.
The stuff about Class A network, Class B network.
Okay.
That was like, whoa.
We can go into greater detail on
Well,
that.
yeah.
I go into a lot more detail in the boot camps. I even have
Okay.
videos that I show folks
Okay.
that just explains it in a way you can't help but understand it.
Right.
Especially the way they want us to understand it for the exam.
Right.
You know. So we can touch on
How
those.
long is the exam?
6 hours.
Woo.
But not everybody uses up to 6 hours.
Yeah, and the average is about 4.5. All right, let's get this.
Okay.
The road on the show. All right, domain 1, security and.
I think you said that on purpose.
I
The
did.
road- okay.
That was intentional Freudian slip there.
Okay.
Security and risk management, asset security, security engineering, communications and network security, identity and access management, and if you notice, we have finished domain 6.
Oh, really?
Domain 6 is the
Okay.
smallest domain. It has the least amount of content. So when we meet next Friday, the first thing we're going to do is play a round of Kahoot for domain 6.
Ah.
Okay.
Because I did try to work it out.
You really? Yeah, it's a little tricky. We can walk through it before you leave here tonight. All right. Let's
Okay.
have Miss Ann,
Okay.
if you will.
I'm going to beat you.
I know, it does bring out the competitive.
You know, that's the purpose. That's the purpose.
That's what we're here
But
for.
some folks stay away because of that. They shy away from coming because of that.
You want to join in with us?
You can listen in.
For a little bit.
You can learn by listening. You don't see. That's the thing. You don't have to compete. You can just come and listen and still learn.
Do you know what we're doing?
Jeopardy.
That's right. And
It's
this,
not the Jeopardy that you're thinking.
It looks like IT Jeopardy.
that's right.
You teach
it
me how
is.
to dance. I'll teach you how to do this
Okay.
cyber stuff.
What, you saw her dancing in it?
Yeah, they were in here throwing down right there. All right, Miss Ann, what is your selection?
I always like to go for the goal. Let's go for 1,000 and domain 7.
Don't hurt anybody so early on. Domain 7 for 1,000. A DRP test that involves a reenactment of specific scenarios
I'm
such
not-
as power outage and loss of communication.
I'm not connecting.
I think
Oh.
I think my batteries might be going low. Okay, there you go. All right, and what do you got?
Simulation.
What is simulation? A simulation involves the reenactment of specific scenarios as a power outage or loss of communication. So this is a DR, disaster recovery, contingency plan test. You're testing your ability to recover from something bad that happens in your environment. All right, Ann,
Alright.
what do you got?
I'm going to stay. Let's go for domain 5, 1,000. For some reason, these I could get.
Domain
Let's
5
see.
for 1,000. The point at which the false rejection rate and the false acceptance rate are equal. This one can be a little tricky. Think of an X. Think of an X. You're on it. You're right there, Ann. Go ahead and say that.
Cross. Let's see. The public. I don't know what to say.
I'm gonna
Cross
give it to
rate.
you.
Yeah.
You're close. Crossover
Over
error rate.
Cross
So,
over error
so
rate.
every
It's the error rates we're talking about.
every biometric system, when you go and put your thumb on something on your device, or when you go put your badge on a gate that's going to let you come through or not, it can be configured and adjusted so that it's really sensitive or not really sensitive. The point at which you have sensitivity or non-sensitivity is the crossover error rate. So if folks that should have access are putting their badge up there and it's not letting them in, then you can adjust the crossover rate to make it less sensitive so that it will let them in.
So that basically you're expanding the parameters of acceptance.
Right, you're making it more sensitive or less sensitive. If you put your thumbprint on there and it has to be you have to place it exactly perfect every time, then the crossover error rate is set to be too sensitive. All biometric systems have this. It's like a balance adjustment knob on the stereo system, right? So you can adjust that. All biometric systems have this crossover error rate.
Got it.
Crossover error rate. All right. Let's go with Taiwo. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Taiwo.
Taiwan. Yeah.
Taiwo.
Yeah,
That's a pretty name.
Thank you.
it is pretty neat.
Asset security for 200.
Asset security.
Asset security domain 2 for how much?
200.
For 200. When implementing the RMF, the risk management framework, this provides an enterprise with specific terms and conditions on the applicability and implementation of individual security controls. This is a hard one. This probably should be a 1,000-point question here. No idea. Anybody have any experience with the risk management framework? Yeah? All right, here we go. Scoping. So scoping, tailoring, supplementing, those are three terms that that really don't get used in the RMF process. They're available to us, but nobody really uses them. A scoping is what it sounds like. Welcome. Go ahead and make your selection. Start small. That's my favorite domain.
Which one?
Security and risk management.
Oh.
Security operations, domain 7 for 200. A complete backup of all files.
This one is self-answering.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an easy one.
It's only it has
might be
it's a
overthinking.
2-word answer. Close.
File backup.
Say again?
File backup.
What'd you
Backup files.
No,
File
but
backup. File.
I mean, you can do different types of backups. Right?
a
This one backs up all the files.
A full
Everything.
backup.
Full backup. There you go.
you were so close. When you say, I thought you were saying full.
A full backup. Let me see my notes here.
There, you got
A
that
full
one.
backup is a complete backup of all files and provides for recovery at the time that it's taken. It resets the archive bit. We're going to talk about that archive bit. It resets the archive bit on all backed up files.
I should know this one because I used to be an Oracle DBA.
Oh, really?
Ah.
Nice. So yeah, you being an Oracle DBA,
Used to be, and then I moved into security.
well, it might be good that you don't have much of that information because you might have done things a certain way in ISC Square and want you to know it from another perspective. So we got to know it the way they want us to know it, right? All right. Let's go ahead, Ann.
Oh, okay. Let's do security and risk management, and we'll start easy with 200.
Domain 1 for 200. The instance of a threat exploiting a vulnerability. The key word there is instance. The actual instance of a threat exposing a vulnerability.
Is it 2 words?
Huh?
Is it 2
Nope,
words?
it's just one word. Starts with an E.
Exposure?
Exposure.
The reason I
Exposure.
remember is because in your materials you said that exposure is an instant of
Instance.
a threat.
Right. So
And you said the key word was an instance,
Instance,
so it's
yes.
not just general exposure. Yeah.
So, I mean, our definition of risk: likelihood, impact, threat, vulnerability. You don't have a risk if you don't have both a threat and a vulnerability, right? So once you identify that you have most organizations I've been to, we spend a lot of time identifying vulnerabilities, but not associating threats to those vulnerabilities. So they'll find vulnerabilities and then they'll POAM those vulnerabilities or find ways of mitigating them. But you don't need to mitigate a vulnerability if it doesn't have a threat associated with it. You know, if we were implementing risk management correctly, then we could save time and money, you know, and not spend as many cycles as we do currently doing things unnecessarily. So exposure, when that threat overcomes that vulnerability, you've been exposed.
So it's not potential, it's actual.
It has happened. It has been realized.
Okay.
Yep. That threat, you have a threat and a vulnerability, but that threat may not have exposed that vulnerability. But when it actually does, the instance that it does, then you have an exposure.
Interesting.
Okay. All right.
These are kind of fun.
Identity and access management, domain 5 for 200. A method for an individual to authenticate their identity by presenting a unique physical attribute. We just talked about this. That crossover error met.
Push your button.
Biometrics.
Yeah.
Biometrics provide a method for an individual to authenticate their identity by presenting a unique physical attribute. ID, authent, author. Identify yourself, authenticate your identity with a biometric signature or password, and then you're authorized access to different resources. All right, Taiwo?
Domain 3 for 200, please. Security engineering.
Domain 3 for 2. A process is in this state when it's waiting for user input. Now these are hard. There's a muscle memory
Yeah,
chart for
because
these.
you're a little
This requires muscle memory.
stop state.
Nope.
Oh,
No takers? Yeah, I had to spend a lot of time with these. The muscle memory chart, it will help you remember the name of the terms and the order in which they flow. What is it?
block state.
state.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a process, we talked last week about applications or software being passive lines of instruction, and nothing happens unless you double click on an executable file or you type in a executable file and hit enter on the command line prompt. And when that happens, these processes are spawned, and those are what actually interact with the CPU and the hardware on the system. Okay, so you have passive lines of instruction that, when executed, spawn processes that make something happen. Those processes could then spawn multiple threads if you've got multiple applications running at the same time. All right, blocked state. All right, let's go Ann.
Okay. Let's go back to identity and access management for 600.
Domain 5 for 6. This error takes place when a biometric system rejects an authorized user. They're supposed to gain access. They call them type 1 or type 2.
When it rejects.
Someone's authorized. Their badge, they have a badge and it should let them in, but the biometric system doesn't let them in because it's set to be too sensitive, and they didn't maybe place it the right way, or they didn't hold their thumbprint the exact same way.
What is a type 1 error?
Type 1.
Okay.
It is a type 1 error. Make sure you know these.
Yeah.
A type 1 error is that very dangerous if someone who is supposed to have access doesn't get access? Is that very dangerous?
I don't know if the word is dangerous, but
Yeah, it's not dangerous at all. It's a nuisance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a pain in
it
the.
happens with me when I get in the elevator, put my badge,
Yeah.
because we have to
Yeah.
use our badges
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
go up and down. And, I'm fiddling around until it actually...
Right. It's frustrating if I'm the administrator of a biometric system and I get a lot of people coming to me complaining that the system's not letting them in, then I'm going to adjust the crossover error rate, which can be, that can lead to some danger if you turn it too much and make it so that people who aren't supposed to have access can then gain access because the system is not as sensitive as it was before. So, requires adjustment periodically. Go ahead and go again, Ann.
Again, I kind of like this one for some reason. I'm staying away from that domain 4. I don't understand those. Okay, let's go for the easy one. 400 under domain 5.
Domain 5 for 4.
The easier one.
This scans the blood vessel pattern on the backside of the eyeball. It's a biometric system. Scans the blood vessels. Can you imagine putting your eye up against something that's going to scan the blood vessels? The iris.
Oh.
That is...
This is not...
Actually, no.
No.
That's the other one.
You're close.
That's the other one. You're really
What's
close.
the other one? Guess again.
Starts with an R.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, when I was studying, it was like, because I just thought eyeball, and called it all iris.
Yeah, most people don't like this one. A retina scan scans the blood vessel pattern of the retina on the backside of the eyeball.
Why would people not like that any more than an iris? You're still beaming
I don't like either one of them.
Yeah, they're beaming something into your eye both ways.
Yeah, but the iris is just looking at the colored part of your eyeball on the surface, and that retina is scanning all the way through. I don't know.
Is it really a difference in scan, or just a difference in what the scan answers? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
in other words, are they really doing the full thing
like,
in both
is the laser
instances?
actually only hitting the surface, or is that laser actually going to the
back?
Yeah,
and it's just like you said, like with the crossover adjustments. In one instance, it just gives the first level iris results.
Yeah.
Well, what do they
Either
use in the
way.
airports? At the airport now.
Do they?
Yeah, it's done in some airports anyway. So I wonder which one.
What do you have to look into? Like
You have to look at
a computer
camera
thing?
type thing. It's like a little camera. Thing.
Okay.
You just don't need to look at it.
Wow.
And ironically, if a woman is pregnant, it can change the retina pattern in the back of the eye.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nice little unnecessary tip. Actually, I think I remember seeing some, I don't know if it was practice questions that referenced that. The fact that the retina pattern can change under certain conditions.
That's interesting.
Lady who listens to reasoning. All right, domain 5 for 800 to close out this category. This error takes place when a biometric system accepts an unauthorized individual. Type 1 or 2.
Yay!
I'll give it to you. Even though you didn't hit your buzzer. Because you're new, we'll go ahead and give it to you.
When I was doing the study materials, I think that's why I like this section, because I could tell it's type 1 and type 2, and it's retina and iris. That's going to be 4 of them right there.
Yeah. So type
Easy
2
to
error
remember.
takes place when a biometric system accepts an unauthorized individual. Which one do you think is more dangerous, type 1 or type 2? Type 2.
Now, what was type 1 again? Sorry.
It was an authorized user
Authorized
not
of
getting
this one.
access.
And this
This one is an
Getting.
unauthorized user getting access. You don't want that to happen. Make sure you remember that.
I can kind of remember the scenarios, like too tightly wound and not wound tightly and too loosely wound. But
Yeah.
then I have difficulty remembering. Oh, this is called a type 1 error, or that's the part that's hard for me to remember what the label is
Right.
for it.
And I think I struggle with that the most.
Yeah,
The labeling,
yeah.
of those terms. That's why the muscle memory charts help me so much, because I got used to seeing those labels. I got used to seeing those terms.
And associating them with the
Right.
scenario
Right.
or the definition. Yeah, because they're generic. They don't help you remember.
Domain 1 for 4.
These were kind of binary also.
Risk existing in something because of what it is. Inherent.
Inherent, good for you. I was thinking indigenous.
Inherent risks.
I
Right?
was like, no, that's not it.
Indigenous.
Oh, sorry.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, close, but not
Right,
a winner.
right. But different companies perform different functions, and a skydiving company would have inherent risks that other companies don't have just because of what they do. Domain 146. The entity that carries out the exploitation of a vulnerability. What's that entity called?
What is the threat agent?
Threat agent is correct. Is there a difference between a threat and a threat agent?
Good question. Threat and a threat agent.
I think they're often used interchangeably.
Yeah.
Right? If you have the example I always give is there's a fence with a hole underneath it. That hole is the vulnerability. But if there are no small animals or things that can get under there, then there's no threat. So that potential a small person or a small animal could be a threat, but the actual entity that carries out that threat is the threat agent.
And what is that then in your scenario?
Right. It could be the animal or it could be the person.
that gets
Yeah.
under there.
But a lot of times, threat and threat agent are used, interchangeably.
And so it's when a threat agent successfully hits you that it's an exposure.
And it's an exposure. And
Okay.
that threat agent.
An instance of an exposure.
Right. Right. That threat agent actually performs an action to overcome a vulnerability. Right.
Performs an action to overcome a vulnerability.
Was that Ann? Did
No.
you get that last one?
Did I? Yeah, I did get that one. Okay. Let's see. There's another group. Like I said, I'm staying away from that domain 4. I didn't all those acronyms. So let's go for 400 domain 7.
Domain 7 for this DRP test involves sending a document to business managers for review. And that's all you do is send them a document and have them review it. They don't necessarily get together to talk about it. You just send it to them and then they respond back with how they would respond and given a scenario, who would respond, who would they contact, what would they do if something bad happens.
This one is so generic, as I recall. It's kind of maybe I've got it wrong, but is this a checklist?
Checklist.
It's kind of like checklists. That's almost like the description of the format, not
Yeah.
the content. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you said you would send it to management and they would look at it to say what they would do.
Right. How they would respond.
I mean, how they would respond. But a checklist is, you just say A, I don't know,
Yeah.
do this, B, follow, the next
I
thing.
think by sending the scenario to them, collecting their responses, you can then create your checklist. Right? A checklist of if this happens, this person's going to respond. And who's that person?
Okay.
What are they going to do? Who are they going to call?
Okay.
The most prominent test that's run is what's it? The type of DR test or contingency plan test that's run most often. A tabletop exercise.
So this category is really generic kind of descriptions of the thing, like a tabletop or a checklist.
Well,
It's a little different from.
I guess I understand it a little bit more now because. But I guess I understand it based on the fact that you're sending it to a manager who's more familiar with the environment.
Right.
So they therefore will tell you, this is where, now I understand what you mean, like they would describe how they would attack.
Yeah.
This one is the least intrusive. You just send out a checklist. People don't have to come together and meet.
Yeah.
The next up would be a tabletop exercise where everyone has to come together, and they might go through that checklist that they filled out. And then the next level up would be, an actual simulation of something, whether it be full or partial interruption.
Gotcha.
My system is comprised of a telecommunications network, servers, workstations, database. My contingency plan or my disaster recovery test would be that the database goes down, who would respond, in what order, how would they respond, what would be done.
I have a question. The D and the DRPs stand for what?
Yeah, I think I might take that out. Disaster recovery plan. I think it should be test. I should say DR test or contingency. Those are all terms that people mix up a lot.
Contingency plan.
Contingency plan, disaster recovery plan, business continuity. Right? Business continuity for me is the overarching one.
What about COOP?
And COOP is another one. 4 terms in there. But business continuity, we're trying to maintain the continuity of the business, right? So with business continuity, you identify the business processes, right, that are performed in the organization, and then you prioritize them. Payroll will be an important business process that should be somewhere at the top, right? If you don't pay your folks, you're not going to have folks. Right. So business continuity. Let's see. COOP is if the disaster is so big that you have to move to another facility. Right. Disaster recovery. You have a disaster. After a disaster, you may implement the COOP.
Yeah.
If
continuity
you have it.
of operation. Is that what it stands for? Continuity.
Yeah.
Operations?
COOP is a continuity of operations plan. And what's the other one? We said COOP, DR. Oh, contingency. Yeah, contingency is something bad that may or may not happen. You can't predict it, but you're going to plan for it. You're going to try to imagine something bad happening. I always look at the components of my system.
You know, I worked for it was a e-discovery company. This was about 8 years ago, when we had the big blizzard that the whole system was down for like a week. You know, the metro wasn't running, everything wasn't running, and they were a global operation, so they had to keep running. So we actually used that, we documented that week because we had to do an actual disaster simulation.
Right.
So we used that opportunity and just documented everything we did, and then, you know, had what did we learn and what were the best practices.
Right.
But it was great because then we didn't have to go and set up an artificial disaster.
Right.
We had a real one.
You know, people say it's better to experience it, to run these type of, especially a full interruption, if you have a backup site and you just turn off operations at your normal site and turn on operations at your backup site, a full interruption, that's really dangerous because you can have something bad happen. But it's better to have that happen while the sun's shining, right, than to have it happen during a disaster and you're trying to figure out all this stuff. But it is dangerous, either way. But, you know, we got to go through it. All right. I don't know where the heck we are. Taiwo?
Yeah.
You want to take this one?
Okay, let's try domain 4 for 200.
It's not too bad. Man, we'll get to talk a little bit about this stuff. But we'll go into more detail after we finish this session. So you said domain 4 for 2? The geometry or shape of a collection of network objects.
This is one I actually knew. Go ahead.
Guessing here.
Say again?
I'm guessing here. I didn't read it.
Okay.
Star?
The what?
Star?
That's one of the type of these things.
Yeah,
Topology.
I was going to say.
Topology.
She didn't ring her bell.
Our new Terminator, topology.
All right.
All right,
Excuse accepted.
The word topology can be loosely defined as geometry or shape of a collection of objects. Network topology refers to the shape and or manner in which computing devices are interconnected. So you could have a network topology, it can be either physical or logical. So you can physically set your network up, your routers, your switches, and cables and all that in a star, but then logically configure it to operate as a ring or something other, right? So topology can be either the physical topology or the logical topology. Physical can be set up one way, but logically you can configure your routers and switches and cables and things to send packets of information using a different, something different than the physical topology. All right. I kind of like that demo. You seem to be doing pretty good at all of them.
No,
I
one.
think you could flip a
One at
coin.
8.
1 at 800. Okay.
1 for 8. The risk to an organization completing its mission.
A risk to an organization completing its mission.
Yeah, this one's
It's one of those words like inherent or something.
yeah.
It's one of those inherent words like inherent.
No, it starts with a B.
Oh, it starts with a B. Business risk.
Business. Risk.
I was just about to give the wrong answer, and you saved me.
Yeah, right. So this
Business
applies probably more often to the Big Four, the
Yeah.
KPMGs, the Deloitte and Touche, the PricewaterhouseCoopers. When they do a financial audit, they go to an organization, document their business processes with a special focus on financial transactions. So this risk, business risk, is if one of those business processes can't be performed, what's the likelihood of that business process not being performed? What would be the impact if that business process couldn't be performed? All right, business risk. All right, and
Okay, let's just go for it. 1,000 in domain 4.
all right, the one you
That's a
don't,
gift to you all, because I'm sure I'm not going to know the
the one
answer.
you don't like, just get it out of the way, right?
Let's just get it done.
This was introduced in 1993 to slow down the rapid exhaustion of IPv4 addresses.
I don't know. IPv6.
That's the answer, isn't it?
That is true. That is one of the things that we implemented, but not the answer I'm looking for right now.
Oh,
I may have to give it to you. I'll give you. If nobody else gets it, I'll
That
have
was
to give
it
it to
last week's one. IPv4.
Yeah, IPv4 and IPv6, and we talked about it.
that was going to be my
Starts
guess.
with a C.
With a what?
So the IPv4 is classful.
Oh.
This one is-
Yeah, these are the things I couldn't get, these classes.
I'm gonna give it to you. You were
Yeah.
right.
CIDR.
Classless inter-domain routing.
Wow.
So given the situation that we talked about last week, with classless inter-domain routing, a company would be able to increase. Okay, so this is going off into some stuff we haven't really talked about. So IPv4 uses 32 bits, right? Just like in cryptography, the number of bits determines how many options there are, right? So with networking, the number of bits determines how many IP addresses are available. So a company that wants to, form a network, they've got, they're a pretty small company, maybe they only have 100 users with 100 laptops. They don't need a large network, so they go to an internet service provider and purchase a Class C network, which has a small set, and we got a muscle memory chart for this one that I highly recommend. But because with IPv4, with classless or with classful routing, you had to select a big group, right? Class A, B, or C, and you couldn't really tailor it to make a Class C network and allow you to have, I think, 254 devices on your network. But if you only needed 100, then you had to purchase all 254, and you were wasting those, right? And we're running out of IP addresses. We don't need to have companies purchasing and wasting that stuff. So, and that happened because you've got 4 octets in an IP address, right? 192.168.7.2. Those 4 different octets. Every octet has 8 bits in it. With classful routing, you could only select whether the number of bits available for a network or the number of bits available for a host based on all 8 bits. You had to use all 8 bits. So you could say, if I select to have the first 3 octets available for networking, then that last octet of 8 bits is reserved for a host. That's a Class C network for a small company. If I'm a larger company, then I'm going to say the first 2 octets are available for networks. The remaining 2 octets are available for hosts. That gives me more hosts available to me. Third option would be the first octet is for networks, and the remaining 3 octets are available for hosts. That's for a really large company. But still, you can't tailor it. With classless interdomain routing, we don't have to use the whole octet, all 8 bits in a whole octet. We could say just 1 bit of the first octet is reserved for networks, and then the rest of those bits and the rest of the other bits and the other octets are reserved for hosts. You can tailor it a little better, so you're not wasting IP addresses. Okay, and I have a video that I can show you guys that really helps explain this stuff. But classless interdomain routing, IPv6, and network address translation are things that were implemented because we were running out of IP addresses with IPv4, using the whole octet for network, or the whole 3 octets to represent the number of hosts. Okay, that's a quick and dirty explanation, but
Thank you.
okay.
That example that you gave, where you said there was a video.
Yeah,
Do you happen to know where?
yeah, I have it right here. I can, once we finish this round, I can pull it up and show you. And there's a little game that I like to play. Let's go ahead and play that game real quick. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a 5-bit system. You always start with 1, and then you multiply it by 2 to get 2. You multiply that by 2 to get 4. Multiply that by 2 to get 8, because it's a binary system. Multiply that by 2 to get 16. If we were going to do a 6-bit system, we'd multiply that by 2 and get 32, and then keep going up, right? So with a 5-bit system, the number 1 is represented by 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. That binary string of digits represents the number 1. For the number 30, it would be 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. And that's another quick and dirty way.
So if 1 is 1, 0, 0, 0, 1.
2 is 0, 0, 0, 1, 0.
3 is 2 and 1. Okay, I get it.
Right.
4 is 4, where it is. Okay. Okay.
This was introduced in 1993 to slow down the rapid exhaustion of IPv4 addresses. Classless interdomain routing.
Classless interdomain routing here.
Right. So instead of classful routing with class A, class B, and class C,
Okay.
where you had to use the whole octet to represent a network
Right.
or its host, with classless interdomain routing, you could use just 1 bit of the first octet, or the first 2 or 3 bits of the first octet, not all 8 bits in
That's
that octet.
classless.
Classless.
Class 4 is using the octet.
The whole octet, yeah, A, B, or C. Class A, Class B, or Class C. All right, so let me go ahead and do my experiment here.
Okay.
All right, Anne, think of a number from 1 to 30.
Okay.
Don't tell us.
Okay. Hope I remember it.
Oh, I don't know if I have these in the right order.
1 to 30,
I
correct?
hope I have these in the right order. Okay. Is your number here?
Let's see. No.
No? Is your number here?
Yes.
Is your number here?
Yes.
Is your number here?
Yes.
Well, yeah, for those binary digits, you got to work out what that number is.
Is your number here?
No.
Before you say it, you read it from left to right, correct? Left to right, 0, 1, 1, 1.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah, and I may have done it backwards, but is your number 14?
It is.
Yes. See? That's
Wow.
how, and the predictability that allows me to do this is one of the reasons why hackers can break crypto systems, because binary
What app
systems
were you
work in a pattern.
using to kind of make the prediction? Or were you using an app?
So
It was
when you
writing
said-
binary
Or you
digits.
just
It
doing
was
it-
writing the binary
So
digits.
when you
binary-
when I showed you that first sheet and you said no, then that represented a 0. When I
Okay.
showed you said yes, That was a 1. Yes, 1. Yes, 1. No, 0. So that's how I know it's
Well,
14.
Interesting.
So it was, no, 0, 1, 1, 0. So
0, 1, 1, 1, 0.
0.
Right. This is one of my students showed me that. But again, I'm going to show
That
you
is
guys.
a great magic trick.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we're going to pull
How
up
did you know how to put together the grids?
the student. It's all based on. You start with the number of bits in your system. Like you've got some systems that are 64-bit systems.
Right.
You've got some systems that are 32-bit systems.
Right.
So you just start with 1, multiply it by 2, and you get a 2. Multiply it by 2 and get a 4. So each one represents a bit.
Right.
And you can go up to 64, 32 bits, or all the way up to 64 bits. The example we showed was just 5 bits. Symmetric cryptography.
Yeah.
All early cryptography was symmetric.
Right.
It wasn't until RSA back in 1984, I think it
So
was.
wouldn't that apply to that in a sense?
Yeah, we use the same term bits to determine how difficult it's going to be to crack a crypto system. The more bits you have, the more difficult
Right.
it is.
Systems now have more.
Right.
bits.
The more bits.
So that's very.
That's
Yeah, see, the Caesar cipher was a symmetric cipher. We'll go in. Cryptography is my favorite domain next to risk management.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I have invented my own crypto system, a mechanical crypto system. And I'll bring it in here when we start talking about crypto a little more. I'll bring it in and show you, but it illustrates perfectly how the more bits you have, the more difficult it is to crack a crypto system. And it's a rectangular box, right? 4 sides, and it's about that tall. I put screws on all 4 sides that screw in, and I put a Rubik's Cube on top that can sit on the screws, and then below that row is another row of screws, another row of screws, and another row of screws. So if I set the Rubik's Cube on the top row and loosen this side, then the cube is going to flip that way, drop down to the next level. If I unscrew this one it's going to flip that way and go down to the next level, right? Each level is a bit, right? There's a level of complexity that can take place at that first bit. The more bits you have, the more complex it is, the more work it takes to guess, what you did to change that letter. And on the Rubik's Cube, I put all 26 letters of the alphabet on there, So if I have the cube solved with all 26 letters and I put it in there, on the first layer, that's 1 bit. The key for how I encrypt and decrypt is which side that I unscrew at which level. That's the key, right? So I did this one on the first level, this one on the second level, this one on the third level, this one on the fourth level. I flipped that thing upside down, put it back in the way it came out, and reversed that process to decrypt.
Wow.
Okay? So that's 4 bits. Think of a padlock. Where's my thing? Think of a padlock. Well, this is a key. But think of a padlock where you can, it's got 4 rows of numbers that you can select. A padlock with 5 or 6 rows of numbers will be more difficult to guess, to brute force. All right, let's go ahead. We're moving along pretty good.
All right.
Classless.
CIDR.
What's it again?
Classless interdomain routing
right.
versus classful routing. Class A, Class B, Class C. We don't do classful anymore.
Which, remember those terms when we get to the other categories in this domain.
Right. All right. Was that 7 for 6? This DRP test involves testing the backup facility while the primary site continues to operate. So you've got a backup site, you've got a primary site, and a backup site. Failover, no. Wait a minute, I think I need to change my batteries.
Oh, I didn't.
Parallel.
Parallel. Oh,
Correct.
at the same time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So you could do a checklist, you could do a tabletop,
Yep.
or you could do this parallel,
Right.
right? All right, Terminator hand.
All right. Let's see. Now the yellows are the ones we haven't done. Is
Correct.
that correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, now we've cracked domain 4. Let's do 800 in domain 4.
Domain 4 for 8. Now you're
I'm
getting,
just gonna, these you can almost randomly guess.
gaining confidence. This breaks a message down into manageable packets to better control the rate of bits on the network, or the bit rate.
Ooh, I do not know that.
No takers? Nope. Nope. Packet switching.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You could, circuit switching, you're just sending zeros and ones across a cable, right? With packet switching, you're breaking the message down into packets. You'll send one packet, and then the computer will decide when to send the second packet, and it remembers the order. It's a way of controlling the number of bits, the bit rate that's going across that cable, right? A no pulse of energy. The system is counting. It has a constant counter going on. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's looking at every second. So for a second that you don't send a message, that's a 0. For the next second that you do energize the cable and send energy across that cable, that's a 1, a 0 and a 1. So if you, a way of breaking up a message so that you can send it in chunks and pieces rather than as a continuous stream where you can't control the bit rate. It's all just, taken up at once.
What would be a real life scenario for packet switching? Could you give one?
Only thing I can come up with is a water system, right? A sprinkler system. If you know the difference between a dry pipe and a wet pipe.
I read something that.
So if the pipe, we have a sprinkler system in this building, if water is right there at the nib, at the point where it's going to be expelled, that's a wet pipe. So if an alarm goes off, or if that nib melts, then the water can release quicker. But if it's a dry pipe, then the water is in a tube, in a tank somewhere, and once that nib melts, then the water's got to go through that tube to come down. It takes a little while. It gives you time to be able to hit the cancel button if it's a false alarm.
Yeah.
But if you sent water in small little chunks, if that tube released a bit of water, you could control how much water. Maybe you don't need a deluge of water to put out. It's just a small fire. You don't want to flood everything there. You just send smaller packets of water. I just had this thought of a water-based system. I want to try and develop one that shows. It's funny how you just asked that question. That shows sending packets of information as little chunks of water.
It always seems like the pipe analogy is
Yeah.
the most intuitive. It's some sort of piping sending all this stuff.
I mean, it's a cable.
Yeah,
it's a cable
yeah,
that
yeah.
either has
And it's
energy
flow.
going through it or it doesn't.
And it's slow.
Yeah.
So
You could send, if your cable is too long and you send a signal from one end of the cable, if the cable's too long, that signal's going to die by the time it gets to the end. So your cables can only be a certain length. Right? They call that attenuation.
yeah,
Right. It's
like
like
hot
taking,
water getting cold.
right,
If
or a
it's too
water
far
hose.
back.
If you have a long water hose and you're on one end, shaking
Yeah.
it like that, it's going to move a lot right close to you, but towards the
Yeah.
end, it may not move at all because
Yeah.
of attenuation. And we'll see that term a little bit later. All right, who was that? Was that no takers on that one?
No takers.
We'll go ahead and go back to Ann. What do you got?
Okay, well, let's do security engineering for 1,000.
Security engineering, domain 3 for big
1,000.
money.
Big money.
A component of a computer that retains data or information over time.
I'm going to guess. Component of a computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is memory?
Yeah.
Well, you
What
said
is
it.
Storage or memory.
There you go.
And don't let those two terms, they mean the same thing. Don't let that trip you up on the exam. Storage or memory. All right. Taiwan.
Domain 1 for 1,000.
Name 1 for big money. Close out that category. The type of risk that remains after controls and safeguards have been implemented. Residual, yeah, right at the buzzer. Residual risk, just like writing information on a piece of paper and erasing it, that indentation is still there, that residue is still there. Residual, there's another one close to residual. Residual is you've identified weaknesses and you implemented all the mitigation you can and there's still some risk left over. The other one is you decide not to implement any mitigation.
And it's
Total risk.
Total risk.
Total risk.
implement countermeasures.
Countermeasures and safeguards.
Safeguards.
What's the difference between a countermeasure and a safeguard?
They're one and the same thing, aren't they?
They're both controls, but a safeguard is something you do before a threat has overcome a vulnerability. Right? It's a safeguard, you're trying to be proactive.
Yeah, exactly.
A countermeasure,
Yes.
after you have a threat overcome a vulnerability and you had an exposure, as a countermeasure, you're now going to implement something to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Okay.
Right?
Do you know an example I sometimes give of total risk is just a personal one is like my mom would want to use the computer to send emails,
Uh-huh.
but she can never remember passwords and certainly not two-factor authentication. It's like she just wants it to be like the TV, you know, you turn it on, you do it.
Isn't that the
So
truth?
the trade-off is, do we have total risk versus her not being able to use it? So we accept total risk, no passwords, no two-factor authentication, no nothing. It's just open.
Yeah.
Now I know,
That's
you know,
perfect.
there are
That's
some
perfect.
things, but it's that trade-off decision. And
Right.
and people always say, well, nobody would ever go for total risk, and it's like you'd be surprised.
Yeah. I mean, the functionality
We do it all
versus
the
security.
time. Yeah.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
You can't
Well,
have
it's
No,
a bit
no.
like the risk management. You don't, some people may secure their environment where you apply so many expensive things, but is it worth it? You weigh up,
Exactly.
the
That's
the nut
yeah.
approach. I'm taking a hammer to a nut approach.
Right.
Or
And that's where risk management comes
Yeah,
in. That's
yeah.
where risk management can be more helpful. If you identify a ton of vulnerabilities, you do vulnerability scanning on system components and identify vulnerabilities. You look at, you assess security controls from NIST 800-53 to identify vulnerabilities. Now that you've identified all these things, associate a threat to them, and then assess the risk of each of them. Some risks some are going to be high, some are going to be moderate, some are going to be low. This allows you to prioritize them so that you're allocating resources towards the high ones before the moderates, before the lows.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now, we're just closing our eyes and, we find vulnerabilities and we just try to mitigate all vulnerabilities. We don't associate a threat with them to determine that there's a risk. And then after we do that, we don't assess them to be able to prioritize high, medium, or low so that we're allocating resources in a cost-effective way.
appropriate.
Yeah.
And the people selling cybersecurity systems, want you to just cover for everything.
Yeah.
They don't
I call
want
it-
you to do that assessment.
Yeah.
They want you to buy the big system
It's a shotgun approach.
at
where
top dollar.
You're trying to hit as much of the target as possible, rather
At
than
one time.
at one
Yeah.
time.
Pass, yeah.
You close your
Yeah.
eyes and you just shoot and try to hit as much as you can, rather than a rifle approach where you identify your target and you pinpoint where you're going to shoot and go after just the things you want to shoot. Risk
Yeah.
management allows you to do that. It allows you to
More
use
refined.
Yeah,
Take a refined approach.
more efficient and effective.
Just
All right.
All right,
The
let's
wheels
clean this
are
up.
falling off the bus.
Well,
know?
that Anne took it to a different
my
level
fault.
there.
It's my fault. This is me when I'm not here. Okay, Angela.
Well, we
yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that. All right. Ann, what do you got?
Okay, let's clean up domain 7, 800.
Domain 7 for 8. This DRP test involves shutting down the primary operating site and moving all business operations to an alternate site.
I just don't know the word.
Alternate.
an F.
Fell over.
Nope.
Got wide.
Nope.
Something with an F like in fail?
I can
Frank?
fail, but not.
Okay, so
not
it's an
fail.
F. Full?
Full. There you go. Full interruption. We did.
Hidden in plain sight. I agree. These really vanilla, generic kind of terms, they don't hang. You
Yeah.
know, it's like full. Well, all right.
So we had a
Full
parallel.
interruption.
We had a parallel test.
Yeah.
And there may be other terms that are used to describe a full interruption. Our key is, so I always tell people, as we go through my information, right, my stuff is designed to be pretty easy.
Right.
But once you can master my information, then I think you're ready for practice exams. And when you do practice exams, with this knowledge that you have from this material, it'll help you identify the key terms, the key phrases that will allow you to select the best answer. But doing practice tests after this will expose you to a lot of different terms that are similar or different from what we know or what we learned here. All right. That was Ann again, right?
Yeah.
You came up with the full.
Boy, we haven't done domain 2, asset security. Let's hit right in the middle, 600.
Domain 2 for 6. Modifying or rewriting security controls to align better with the characteristics of the information system and its environment of operation. This is NIST 800-53. We've selected our baseline set of controls, and we now want to rewrite some of those controls to better fit our environment. Nobody does this.
What is tailoring?
Tailoring.
Oh, good.
Correct. It is tailoring. So nobody does that. I've been threatened with being thrown out of an agency for even suggesting it. You know.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. I know somebody who was trying to implement NIST somewhere and didn't have the buy-in at the top level.
Yeah. All right. Was that you again?
No, that was.
That was okay. What do you got?
Domain 2 for 1,000.
Domain 2 for
Alright.
big numbers. Money.
Big numbers.
This involves adding new and additional risk management framework security controls to the established baseline. So the first one was tailoring, supplementing.
Just because you said it about 3 times.
Yeah. Tailoring and
Just said
supplementing.
it.
So you've got scoping, tailoring, supplementing. And
Do you see much supplementing?
nope.
That seems like the baseline is plain.
I've been threatened for that one too.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me that this
You
is our
wanna raise
baseline?
it up.
We've got 600 controls we need to answer, and you want to add more to it? Are you kidding me?
So that's kind of like the type 1, type 2 crossover kind of dynamic. You can either, tailoring is ratcheting down, supplementing is ratcheting up vis-a-vis the crossover baseline.
Well, yeah. Well, tailoring is not really ratcheting down. It's really just changing the wording
Okay,
of
gotcha,
what's there.
gotcha. Yeah, it's not
You know,
quite the same.
Supplementing, you're adding more
Yeah,
to the baseline,
yeah.
but
Tailoring.
I haven't seen.
It's a bit like a tailor. They will tailor
Right.
your
Yeah.
pants to
Right.
suit you better, your
Yeah,
height.
yeah, so it can give
supplement.
either more or
A lot of
less.
There's
these
a
words, yeah, if
deficiency.
you apply them to the
Yeah.
English language.
Right, so you with your British heritage
Yeah.
should have a better chance.
I wish. No, but when you've got so much in your head, you can't stop. You know, it's a struggle to put it together.
All right. Who's next? Was that you again? Terminator Ann?
All right, let's, what can we take out? Let's do 400 in domain 3.
Domain 3 for 4. A process is in this state before it has been loaded into memory.
Oh, process.
Ready?
Yep.
Oh.
Oh, no.
No,
No.
not ready.
It's a new state.
Oh,
So and again, there's a muscle memory chart for these.
right.
The process is in a new state before it has been loaded into memory.
Okay.
All right.
States.
Domain 4 for 6. the entire first octet of an IP address in this classful network is used to identify the network. And this is a hard one.
Yeah, this is.
I kind of touched on it, but
Yeah. You want a IPv4.
Class A, Class B, or Class C. So with let's say the first octet of an IP address is used for a classful network is used to identify the network. The remaining 3 octets are used for a host. So you've got a small number of networks, a large number of hosts. Is that Class A, Class B, or Class C?
For the first set, Class
I was going to say.
Correct. Class A.
Okay.
Class A.
Yay.
Class A is a huge
Smart.
company like Verizon.
Congratulations.
Will purchase a Class A network.
We went over that when I said IPv6.
Yeah.
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 But I didn't hear you mention the class letter.
Yeah. Class C, we said a Class C is for small companies,
Okay.
right? A Class B would be for a moderate-sized company. Class A is for a huge, large
So
size.
it's the reverse of what you would imagine.
Right.
A is
It's counterintuitive.
You caught on.
Or
She's
A, close
strategizing
it
now.
out. The simplest network topology.
what is this time you're talking about the types of geometrics.
Yeah.
What is a bus? Is it a line?
No, ring star.
You're close. You're very, very close.
Star.
I don't know.
Starts with a P.
Ring star.
It's kind of like the if you've got 2 cans with a string in between them. You got 2
Ping.
endpoints. Huh?
You said ping.
No. It's
What?
point to point.
Point to point.
Point to point is the simplest. The simplest network topology consists of a point-to-point connection of one computing device to another through a cable, just like 2 cans with a string.
Yeah, but how's that geometric? When you think about
Geometrically?
when you think about geometry.
The topology of a point-to-point network is just a straight line. All right. Go ahead, Taiwan.
Oh, was it me? Okay, domain security engineering for 800.
Domain 3 for 800. A process is in this state when it's waiting to send instructions to the CPU.
Oh,
Rest.
Nope, it's close. It is an R.
ready.
Ready.
I knew ready was in
already
there.
said that.
I did. The states.
Question that said ready state.
No, I guessed ready, but I was wrong. That one was
New
new.
state.
I said ready when it was new. And that's confusing, new and ready.
It is.
Yeah.
These states are they're counterintuitive.
Yeah, they are.
I do have a muscle memory chart for that.
Yeah.
So when I edit this video, I'm going to put that muscle memory chart so you can see it as we're talking
Yeah.
about it. All right.
Let's knock it out. Domain 3, 600.
Domain 3 for 6. A process is in this state while the CPU is executing those instructions.
Step.
Actually running. Things are. I just gave it to you.
Running.
Oh, right. You
I
guessed
just
it.
gave it to you.
Actually, I was going to say processing.
Running
So I'm
state.
wrong.
Running.
Ru-
Processing.
new-
Running and processing.
Huh?
Running and processing.
Yeah.
New.
Say processing.
Well, you said running for
No,
you,
but I
yeah.
heard him say running. So I was
Yeah.
So new. A process is in this state before it has been loaded into memory. That's a new
Okay,
state.
That's a new state.
Block state, a process is in this state when it's waiting for user input. And I shouldn't have told you that because we haven't done that one yet. Running
I
state,
think we did.
when it's executing the instructions. A ready state, it's waiting to send instructions to the CPU.
So that would be after executing. Which
A ready?
ready is before you execute, before it does the running.
Yeah, before it does the running. Yeah, it's ready. It's ready and waiting. Ready and willing. Muscle memory chart. Muscle memory stuff, just pure memorization. Be able to write them down. I saw a video where a guy for the PMP came up with mnemonics right? So I'm going to come up with some. It's always better if you come up with your own mnemonics.
Well, there's one for the 7-layer OSI 7-layer
Yeah.
that I saw somewhere about pizza.
Yeah.
You have your own.
I have my own.
Sausage pizza.
Say that again.
Please don't throw away sausage pizza.
Please don't throw away sausage pizza.
That's 7.
All right, 2 more to go. I mean, 2 or 4. The NIST guide for applying the risk management framework to federal information systems.
800.
What is
I
No, it's NIST 800
37 or 11.
37.
Woo!
NIST
Nice.
800-37.
so sorry? Can you go back again to the question, please?
That was
Yeah, it was 2 or 400.
2 or 4. The NIST guide for applying the risk management framework. 800-37 is called the RMF, the risk management framework. Even though the old process wasn't labeled the risk management framework, they just attached this label to ostensibly enforce risk or express the importance of risk, but they really didn't go far enough into explaining how to apply risk to this process. After you've gone through the whole process and identified vulnerabilities, associate a threat to them, and then assess the risk, either qualitatively or quantitatively, and come up with a risk rating. And then prioritize. It should have gone that. I think that little bit a step further. All this 800-37 does is really a vulnerability management
Yeah.
process. It's not a risk management process. It's more of a vulnerability.
Teach you.
Huh?